This is it. We are finally here for the 30th anniversary of the Duelbits Mosconi Cup. And it's an extra special edition this year, boys. Obviously an anniversary edition. And we're just hours away from the start of what is set to be an epic Mosconi Cup. I'm delighted to be joined by four-time Mosconi Cup winner Karl Boyes and a new face on Off the Rail this week, the freezer Scott Frost. Gentlemen, thanks for joining me.
No problem.
Karl, I'll start with you. The whole year has been building towards this moment. The players, all 10 guys, have been travelling all over the world, World 9 Tour ranking events in 3 continents, earning those ranking points to get to this point, playing in the Mosconi Cup. As someone who's been there and done it, talk to me about what's going through those guys' minds right now, on hours away from play starting.
Yeah, they just want to get out there. You've got to play that dreaded first team point, which is a little bit weird because you get one rack each and everyone's sat in the arena. It's like such a daunting moment, really. It's like the scariest point you'll probably play the whole cup. And obviously we're in Alexandra Palace 2 years ago. The fans was crazy. It was loud. It was sold out again. It's just nervous, scary. But obviously, listen, you've qualified for the team. That's what it's all about. Sort of come the US Open. That's when, if you've not qualified, people sort of stand up. The players stand up and think, right, I've got to sort of do the business here and get in the team. So, obviously we're just a few hours away from the first ball being hit, and they'll just want to get out there and get some table time.
And Scott, a pleasure to have you join us on Off the Rail this week. You told me earlier this week that this is the first time you left the country, and you decided to pop your cherry in London for the biggest pool event in the world. Tell me firstly, before I ask you about Team USA, how you're feeling yourself.
I'm pumped. I'm excited. Very excited, Jake. It's my first time, so not only for it to be my first time, but to have it be the 30th annual, Mosconi Cup is beyond my wildest dreams. So I'm very excited.
And the circus that follows the Mosconi Cup has been slowly bubbling away all year. I feel like this week it's obviously, really clicked into another gear this week. We had the press conference yesterday.
Yes.
And although it wasn't the most ferocious press conference we've seen from the players, I think it's fair to say we saw 2 teams that were really focused and dialed in and ready for a big week of pool this week.
Yeah, there's no doubt. There's no doubt. I think we're looking at 2 totally different teams here, right? I think there's all veterans on Team Europe, which can be great and maybe not so great. You just don't know. Team USA, on the other hand, oddly enough, it seems like a lot of young guns now that you look at the team. So I think that could work to their advantage possibly, but we'll have to wait and find out in the next few hours.
And Karl, obviously you've been involved in the Mosconi Cup in pretty much every aspect. You were at the press conference as well yesterday. What were your main take-homes from your perspective?
Yeah, I think both teams just, sort of did a professional job, really. I know Shaw tried to bait Fedor a little bit. I thought he was going to go a little harder on Fedor, but maybe the chance didn't sort of arise. And I think the fact that Jason's vice-captain, I think he's took a bit more of a role than vice-captain. I think it's become a bit of a joint captaincy, that's what I'm hearing. So I think he's just, if like, let's say Johan or Alex Layla was captain, I think Jason might have gone a little bit harder on Fedor, but he's sort of kept it a bit more respectable. Obviously he said he sort of teased the whole room saying, I'm first on singles, get your name down, pal, let's see what you got. Obviously we don't know if he will play first, he was just teasing him, but overall I think Barry Hearn stole the show at the press conference. That man does not need to write down any speeches, does he? He's just a joke when he gets in a room full of people. And I think overall just both teams very professional.
Just a quick word on Barry, actually. Obviously, he teased a lot of what's to come in 2024. Obviously, there's a lot of things going on behind the scenes that haven't yet been confirmed, but it sounds like there's a very exciting 2024 schedule to come, Karl.
Yeah, I think the biggest exciting thing I'm going to look forward to is he's playing in the US Open. I mean, I didn't see that one coming. Where does that come from? I mean, Matchroom have a knack of springing these new events on, and obviously the World 9 Tour now, it's changed so much since I was playing. And now we've got Barry Hearn playing US Open. Who'd have thought that?
Yeah, and he might make the points.
He might make
the team.
Well, he can make the rules. Yeah, he'll make the rules.
He might make the rules.
Chance.
Personally, I love the idea of him turning up to the tournament desk with Brendan Moore checking in as Barry Hearn over you with his cues, And if he's 15 minutes late, I'm sure he's still going to get a rack deduction. There's going to be no favouritism there.
Yeah, I just hope when the draws done, he draws Earl Strickland. That would be absolute
Box
gold.
office.
Can you imagine that? It'd be unbelievable.
And obviously at the time of this show being filmed, we don't yet know the lineups for day one, so we won't go too much into the details of obviously the matchups because we don't know that.
Yes.
But let's look at the teams on paper first, Karl. I'll start with you. Looking to the European side, they've got the Hanoi Open champion, got the European Open champion, they've got the world champion, the world #1. And to boot, they've got Joshua Filler and Albin Ocean, you know, no mugs to bolster that European side. I think it's fair to say they're probably the favourites on paper, aren't they?
Oh, without a doubt, everyone knows on paper the favourites. Team USA know they're the favourites on paper, but that doesn't mean they're going to win. Doesn't mean USA can't win. USA have won in Ali Pali before, so they know how to get that win. Obviously, Johan was at the helm then, probably the greatest Mosconi Cup captain in history. JJ's got to try and find a way of doing it on his own. He's lost the last 3 cups. USA have only won 3 cups since 2007, so that tells you a big story, do you know what I mean? So it's a massive task, but along with what you've just said, Hanoi, world champion, European champion, Joshua Filler, Jason Shaw, they've both won 2 MVPs, and to win an MVP, you've got to win singles points. Team Europe are stacked.
And Scott, as Karl touched on there with Team USA, they've got no qualms of being underdogs. Back in 2018, in this very building, they did the unthinkable. They beat Europe on their home turf to lift the title for the first time in 8 years, ending a run of dominance from Europe. Obviously, Europe are on a bit of a tear-up at the moment. They've won 3 in a row. If they were to win 4, that would be the 3rd longest winning streak in Mosconi Cup history. USA and Europe both have 1 each. But I think it's fair to say, Scott, that this US side, they look hungry, determined, and ready to prove a point, would you say?
Yeah, there's no doubt. I totally agree. And I don't think there's anything wrong with being the underdog, especially coming from a player standpoint, right? It takes a little steam off of you. Of course, you're going to have pressure in this environment. It's automatic. But that being said, then you look at Shane Van Boening, who throughout the years has been the man that has to carry everybody on his shoulders. Well, at this point, I don't feel that or see that, right? You've got these young guys. We don't know what Shane Wolford's going to do, but I've got a good idea. Then you've got Fedor Gorst. If anybody thinks he's just going to completely fall apart, they've lost their minds, right? So I do think this is the best team that Team USA's had in many years. And it's going to be real interesting to see what happens, because I think everything could go against you if you're Team Europe, right? The crowd could go against you. Being all veterans, do you get that heart rate up that you need? Of course, in this setting, most likely. We'll see. It'll be interesting.
And I know you've been inside the camp talking to the guys over the last couple of days. Can you give us an insight into the vibe in the camp, what the guys have been saying? They relaxed, determined, what are they like?
Man, I'll tell you what.
He's eating chicken wings.
I did get a bite to eat. You guys don't feed me, so I'll tell you what, it's super relaxed. And I think it's the way it's supposed to be. It's relaxed, but it's serious, right? Jeremy Jones continues to impress me the more I watch him. I think that people are in for a surprise, and I really hope this Mosconi Cup is what it's built up to be, 30th anniversary, and I think it's going to be more than people expect.
I think, I just want to jump on
Yeah,
that
sure.
with USA. I think it's crucial for Jeremy. He's got to pick the right team. He's not got a lot of options when you look at experience, players who have done it. You look at Europe, like I said, we've got Albin Ocean, Joshua Filler, Jason Shaw, they've all been MVP. So that means they've won them big singles points. USA, other than Skylar Woodward, who's of the later years started to win them points, we don't know what Fedor's going to do. We don't know what Wolford's going to do. SVB's been a bit up and down over the years.
Correct,
so
but there's got to be a time,
there's
right? There's got to be a time.
Doesn't
You
mean
can't
it's
keep
this year,
these
though.
guys in the woods the whole time. And like you and I talked off camera, I believe that there's got to be a time where just throw them out there. Let's just say he threw Shane Wolford out there with Fedor or without Fedor, and Shane does something amazing. Well, that just sets the team off to another boost, right? So you just don't know.
Yeah, we'll get into the plan a little bit. I like how you touched on Shane Wolford being the only playing rookie. I think, judging by the press conference though, if anyone was an MVP of the press conference, I'd say Shane Wolford really impressed me. I think he spoke really well, he looked calm and collected out there in that environment for the first time. It's the first time we've seen him, and I really liked what I heard from him.
Yeah, I agree. I thought, he said all the right things. He didn't just give 1 or 2 word answers, did he? He strung a couple of sentences together. I thought he did well. We just don't know what he's going to do. He's obviously going to be buzzing. He's so happy. He's made the team. He's a young man. And the Mosconi Cup's a funny one, isn't it? Because obviously if he gets off to a good start, you don't necessarily have to have won big major tournaments. You can sort of make this arena your own. It's all about experience. But
Tyler Steyer in 2018, I think
yeah,
it's a prime
exactly.
example, isn't it?
And I think it's obviously over the years there's always been a big thing about a rookie, so I'm just glad that we do have a rookie. I know we only have one rookie in both teams, but I'm glad. I always think that's quite an interesting talking point.
Yeah, and talking of rookies, like we said, one playing rookie technically in Shane Wolford, you could argue Fedor Gorst as a rookie. I want to look to Europe's side, Karl, and talk about Ralf Eckert. The first time we've ever seen him in this kind of environment. He's never ever seen anything like this in his life, and he's been quite honest and openly admitted that. What do you make of him this week, and do you think he's in for a shock today?
At the beginning, you know, when we've seen interviews at the US Open and he was in Vietnam, thinking, yeah, you know, obviously I don't know too much about him in this sort of managerial, you know, coach role, but the sort of, you know, just the last couple of days, yesterday, the presser, I don't know, I'm becoming a little worried, I won't lie. I just think, like, he did, I don't know if you've seen it, he did a podcast on Billiards Digest. Did you see it?
I did not.
I saw it, yeah.
Well, and he was, you know, Mike Panazzo asked him, you know, the team sheet, have you been looking at other picks? And he was sort of just saying, well, not really, I'll speak to the players and kind of let them pick, and obviously they're the ones with the experience. I just thought, it just doesn't sit right with me, that, because obviously I've played under the great Johan, you know, I've worked with Alex Lele, I've played under Shamat, you know what I mean? These captains, they tell you what you're doing, and if things are not going well, they say the right things when you go back in the practice room, because if USA get off to a good start, what's he going to be saying in there if he's letting them pick the team and having too much control? So I've become a little bit worried.
And Scott, just to add to what Karl said there, one thing I picked up in the press conference that Ralf said, albeit funny, it stuck with me. He says he's probably the highest paid ball racker in the world this week. What do you make of that comment?
Well, that stuck out to me, and I'm not here to pick on Ralph. I don't know him real well. Seems like a class guy, but he seems like a very quiet class guy, right? And kind of lets things roll off his shoulders. You really can't do that in his position. You've got to take control. Even though he's not the one potting the balls, you've still got to demand and command respect from your players. I'm not saying he hasn't, but it could go bad real quick if he doesn't take some type of lead. So let's hope he does that.
And you've got a lot of big characters in that dressing room, Karl. And like you said, when the chips are down, Ralph's going to have to step up as captain and get them in order. Like Alex Lely and Johan Roysink have shown that in previous years, haven't they?
I remember when we was playing in Ali Pali, and I was vice captain along with Alex Lely. On the opening day, it finished 2-2 or 3-2, I can't remember, but we got away with it. Europe got away with it on day one, right? When we went back to the practice room, Lely said, listen, he pulled me to one side, he said, we need to have a word here. We've been a bit arrogant. Well, you know, just because we've got world champions and we've got this guy, it's like you're just going to come and win. It's like automatic. So we had to sort of bring it back down to planet Earth a little bit. And that's my worry with Ralph. If he's the highest paid ball racker, is that all he's doing, just racking the balls? Is he thinking these guys are just going to win? Because it's mental out there.
Well,
he's not seen that yet.
Don't think that Team USA is not paying attention to that.
Yeah.
And I promise you, right? And they are. And that could be to their biggest advantage or their greatest advantage. Could be part of their attack plan if they see that happening. You just don't know, but it could be a real possibility.
So as we look ahead to the eventual winners this week, I know it seems a long way off, Karl. What is it going to take for a Team USA win on away soil this week?
I think things that stand out for me, JJ's got to pick the right team. For me, he's got to get Shane, Skylar Woodward, Fedor needs to play well. Them three players can play a lot of the points. And now we've got Fedor, who's clearly world class. He is a rookie in front of this crowd. He lost to Joshua Phil at European Open, made a mess of it near the end when he mattered. He lost to Jason Shaw at the Hanoi. He made a mess of it near the end. This is brutal out there. It's absolutely brutal. He's got to go out there. He's got to play well. He knows he's under probably the most pressure any player in any Mosconi Cup's under, because he's switched teams. It's like, you know, it's unbelievable. So he's going to get the crowd against him. They're going to be on his back. It's like pantomime stuff out there. You know what it's like. So I think if them three guys can play well and win the singles, obviously we don't know what Wolford's going to do. Tyler Steyer has lost all of her singles points. They've got to be winning these points. Them three players have to play very well, and JJ's got to pick the team well.
On that Fedor note, before I ask you the same question, Scott, what can Fedor do in preparation for something like that? Because none of us in this room or anyone out there knows what that crowd is going to bring today.
You just don't, you can't prepare for that. All he can do is practice. He's a very good cueist, you know, there's not a lot of movement. He stays very still, you know, he's a good pocketer of the ball, so he's got to rely on that. I think we don't know day one team sheet. It's a funny one, me and Scott have spoke about it. would you risk putting him on singles? And if he wins, welcome to the Mosconi. He's up and running. I don't know. Do you put him with someone who's got a bit of experience with the doubles? But I just think he's got to really play well for USA to snap this cup off.
Yeah, there's certainly some big decisions to be made. And Scott, I'll go back to the question I asked Karl. What do you think it will take for Team USA to win the Mosconi Cup this week?
I constantly keep going back to Shane Wolford. I think that he's got the ability, the youth, and maybe, like Jeremy Jones said in the presser, maybe he forgets about the nerves a lot quicker than others. If he does something special, I think maybe he could cover for Federer if Federer does blunder a little bit, right? It is going to be about those three guys, though. It really is going to come down to those three guys and who Jeremy picks in the rotations. I think that's a big factor in this event. But I keep going back to Shane Wolford. Is it his time to shine, or could he go the other way? I mean, that's really what it's going to come down to, in my opinion, sooner or later.
But looking at the opening 2 days, the new format, is he going to play a lot? He doesn't have to play a lot in the opening 2 days.
But there's years to come, right? Like,
Yeah.
If they're going to pick you now, then you better play, in my opinion. I mean, this event happens again next year. It happens the year after that, right? Like I said, Van Boning's been holding the weight for all these years. It's time for the youth to take over. He's been picked. He's been picked for a reason, I would hope. And it's his time. I'm not saying he carries the team, but I'm saying I bet he can handle his own. Tyler's had trouble in singles in the past. So is it Wolford's time to shine? It could be. And if it is, maybe he's the surprise for Team USA this week.
And as rookies go, Karl, how important is it for JJ to try and get Shane out there as quickly as possible? I know you mentioned there might be a way that you can protect him, but if you're a captain, is it not important to want to get your rookie out there to get used to that atmosphere? Because at some point he's going to have to go out there.
He's going to play, but I can guarantee you right now he will not play singles in the opening 2 days.
In the opening 2 days.
In the opening 2 days, not a chance he's playing a singles point.
That makes sense.
He'll get put out in doubles
Right.
with an SVB, maybe a Fedor, and give Fedor that little bit of comfort.
I like that.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? But he's not playing singles first 2 days. You're just not going to do it.
So that comes on to my next point, you know, not to sound too cliche about it, but as history has shown us, it is so important to start the Mosconi Cup strong. Does that mean that Ralph and JJ both go the strongest combinations for the first day?
I believe day one for Europe is so obvious. I think anyone could pick that team. I think you'd have to be pretty stupid not to know the lineup for Team Europe on day one. Because you've got the two Spaniards, they've got to play doubles together, haven't they? You've got to throw Filler out for the singles, and then you're left with Jason and Albin, who's played a lot of doubles matches together, and they've won a lot of points. For me, them two go out first. Jason's like the homeboy. He loves it. He'll be getting the crowd going mental because that's what he's done in previous years. JJ will know this. Interesting to see what Team USA put out on that day one.
Do you think Jason, as well, being vice captain, is telling Ralph Eckert, I'm going out in that singles match 3?
Yeah, without a doubt. I think it just picks itself, doesn't it, Scott?
Yeah, probably. There's no doubt. I mean, Shaw's, he literally runs the Mosconi Cup, and he builds his team, right? Like, that motivation and momentum that he carries with his team, I mean, it would be nice for USA to have one of him, and Skylar Woodward's probably close to that in a lot of ways. Yeah.
And that brings an interesting conversation into the equation. So hypothetically speaking, if Jason does walk out match 3 in that singles, and JJ anticipates that, who's he putting out against Jason Shaw on day 1?
Jason Shaw will not play singles on day 1.
You don't think he'll play match 3? No?
No.
Who do you think?
Filler.
You think Filler will?
100%.
You don't think
Jason Shaw will not play singles.
But how do you know all of this?
I just know because I've been in the teams. I've been vice captain.
Okay.
I'm glad we've got this on record.
I could pick this team in my sleep. Joshua Filler.
But you can't pick what Ralph's going to do in your sleep.
I don't think Ralph's going to pick the team. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
So if Filler, let's track back then. If Filler is going out match 3, doesn't really change JJ's equation much. Who's JJ putting out against Joshua Filler? Is he throwing a rookie to the wolves?
We talked about this, and there's a few different equations. It's a tricky one.
Because I just want to add to that point.
I think you've got to put Skylar Woodward out.
Yeah.
Because he's the guy who's been MVP. He's the guy who's beat Filler in singles. He's beat more players. I just don't see how you don't put him out. Day one.
And that's who I said. I agree, but I mean, you could gamble. You could gamble and put Federer out there too, as well,
That's
right?
a big
But it's a
gamble.
big gamble. But
it's not a
That's
big
why
gamble.
we're here.
Yeah.
Right, but we're gambling anyway, right? Team USA's the underdog on paper, right? So.
But how crazy is it that we're not saying SVB?
I know.
Arguably player of the
but
decade for the last 10 years. It's mental.
Okay, but like there's things I know about the Mosconi Cup and SVB for years. SVB doesn't want to be in the limelight in this event, right? He just wants to be able to do his job, though. He just wants to be able to do his job. And that's why I think this is where Team USA could really shine. It's because you've got 4 other guys that could really do it. SVB's the senior now.
Yeah.
I mean, who'd ever thought? So it'll be interesting.
And look, I don't want to get into hypotheticals, but we all know that team match is a bit of a coin flip. Then there's the doubles. That match 3 is so important. I mean, every match is, but that is just how much pressure is riding on that early in the Mosconi Cup, Karl, isn't it?
I think the second point's the biggest point of day 1 for me. It's the first doubles point.
Yeah.
The team match is a coin flip. It's a weird little thing. I think the team point is more important for USA as it is for Europe, because if USA can win the team point, they've only got to win 1 out of the next 3 to go to sleep at 2-2. So I think match 2, that doubles, is a big point, because obviously if the doubles pairing win, it's 1-1 or 2-0.
Yeah.
And then the guy going on singles, you feel like there's a little bit of heat off.
Yeah, definitely. I know we've touched on Shane Wolford, but I want to go back to that point. So, Karl, I'll ask you first.
Yeah.
For USA, how do you break the rookie into the event? Is it no question that he plays a doubles? He's not going out singles, in your opinion?
He's not going out singles.
No.
If he goes out singles, I think that's the last we've seen of Jeremy Jones as captain. Do you know what I mean? He's not going out singles. That is just you throwing someone out in that environment. You've got to be a special player. Do you know what I mean? You've got to be a Jason Shaw or a filler. You know, that style of play.
But what does it do for Shane Wolford's confidence? Let me ask you something. Do you think Shane Wolford's sitting back there wanting to be thrown out there in singles or not wanting to? Let me ask you that.
I don't know.
I would hope he wants to be.
Well,
otherwise, he's in the wrong place. Am I right or wrong?
No, I know.
Well, hopefully he wants to be, but I'm just saying, hopefully he wants to be, but hold on, let me finish. So what happens after day 2 when he doesn't play a singles match?
No,
Does that help him or hurt him?
I think with the doubles, there's obviously a player in that team who he feels really comfortable with. I don't know who that is because I don't really know the guy that well. But going out there, you know, when you've got someone sat next to you who can I'll take this push out on, I'll take this big shot. You can get the easier shots. That's a great way to get yourself fed into the Mosconi Cup.
Agreed. But at the same time, I mean, I probably won't see him in the first 2 days, today or tomorrow, right? We probably won't.
Which is fine, because going out with doubles, we'll get to see. The other thing what I want to say about Wolford is I've not really seen a lot of him play, but I know he's a left-hander. And every left-hander I've ever watched in Q Sports are some of the best potters.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to be looking
He's
for things
quick,
like that.
he's accurate, right? And he seems to not let much get to him, like you said in the presser, right? I was impressed as well in the presser. So we'll see what happens, but I wouldn't be surprised to see him. I don't know what the right move is, but I don't know if it's the worst move in the world to throw him out there to the Wolves and let him shine. If it happens, great things could happen for Team USA. If not, we'll see what happens.
The only thing I would say is, if he did do that, I think Jeremy would do that knowing that Filler's going to play the singles. Filler can beat anyone 5-0. So maybe JJ would think of that. Then you got the other 4 guys. I think Shane and Tyler play really strong doubles together. They've won points. And then obviously you would have Skylar Woodward in the other doubles pair. It's a funny one. I don't know.
Well, I think we've done quite a lot of breakdown there, and there's a lot of talking points to be had. So, Karl, I'm going to go to you first. Score predictions after day 1. What do you reckon?
I'm going to go for 2-2.
2-2. Scott, I'll ask you the same question.
I've got to give him the same answer. It's probably going to be 2-2.
2-2. I think we would all love that. I think we'll leave it there. The 30th edition of the Duelbits Mosconi Cup is just hours away. Join us live on Sky Sports and DAZN from 6:30 p.m. GMT. Head to matchroompool.com for the full broadcast list details, and of course, follow us across Matchroom Pool socials for the latest. We'll see you at the Palace.